This is NewHampshireTrackandField.com. We're starting a new segment today. It's called Around the Oval. So our first guest for it is actually going to be Jim MacKenzie. But before I bring him in, I just want to talk about this structure that we're going to do for Around the Oval. It's going to be a little bit unique. Instead of having one host every week, what we'll do, or every episode, what we'll do is we'll switch through some hosts. So I'm going to host today. My name is Greg Hall. One of the co-founders of NewHampshireTrackandField.com, along with my other co-founder, Tim Cox. But today we're talking to Jim MacKenzie, who is going to be the next host. I'll be host for a couple of episodes, and then Jim will take over, and he's going to have a pretty interesting interview as well. Um, but before we get started with him, I just want to make sure everyone is aware of the Big Chill Challenge. If you've heard of Winter Warrior before through Runner's Alley. It's very similar to that, but it's going to be in the month of February and it's geared towards scholastics, meaning that we're really trying to get a lot of those high schoolers who didn't get the opportunity to compete. They can compete in this. You're running outside, you're tracking your miles. It's different than Winter Warrior, if you're familiar with that, because it's not required to run every single day for it. It's based off of a 6 day average, so our high schoolers can still get the rest. And what I think the best part about it is Runner's Alley is basically saying this: they're doing it for us. They're doing it for the website and for you guys. Basically, all the proceeds from it go directly to us. There's no cut that's going elsewhere. It's all going towards the website, which is immediately just going to go back into making sure that we can um, get more equipment, cover more meets, make sure we take care of everyone we can, including our commentators. So now we get to hear a little bit more about one of our commentators who's with us year round. Um, he's been phenomenal. He's got a story for everything as well. Incredible base of knowledge. So Jim MacKenzie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's kind of get just a brief overview of you and who you are. So my first question is high school. You actually went to high school in New Hampshire. You went to Portsmouth High School, right?
Yep, Portsmouth High School, home of the Clippers.
All right. So what can you tell me about you as a runner back in high school?
I think it was more of a hard-nosed runner. Logged a lot of miles. Probably wasn't the fastest guy, but hard work definitely uh, put me at the top of the game. Um, I had good trainers there, good coaches, and I knew if I put hard work in, I'd have a lot of success at it. I wasn't a natural runner.
Who was coaching you back then?
Mike Rogan was our head coach. The distance coaches, I had a few along the ways. I had Bruce Buttersworth to start off with. He was a great runner himself from the Hampton area. A couple times, two-time state cross country champion. Bobby Wilson. He was a 421 miler his high school senior year, and then Rick Barrett also. So I had three. He was a school record holder in the 2 mile for a while. So I had three really good people trade me along the way, teach me the ways. Bobby Wilson probably stands out the most, though.
So that's that. I take it that's kind of where you got your running started, right? Did you do anything before high school, or?
I was a regular athlete: basketball, baseball, football, soccer. Kind of fell into running. I remember the day that was a kid on. Turned out I ended up being on his team. Mike Gelinas came up to me. Jarasi, excuse me, came up to me and asked me if I would run cross country. I didn't even know what cross country was. I was already running at the time. Um, Actually, my eighth grade year, this is how I started running. The very first day of school, we had this new new science teacher, and he was hard nosed. His name was Mark Blythe, and I made some wise comment, and he gave me detention. I said something back. He goes, "You got 5 days detention." So that day, I sat there, and he went out for a run, came back in, and he said, "You can sit there and rot, or you can bring your sneakers for the next 4 days." Brought my sneakers in, started running with them, and that's basically where it really started, with some Mark Blythe.
That's a pretty unique and pretty cool story, and it just goes to show you that yeah, coaches especially back then and even now, it's doing everything they can to get those kids out and show kids the sport of running and how powerful it can be. It definitely is pretty life changing for a ton of different people. Um, So high school, you had some success, and then you ended up running in college as well, and you went to UNH.
Yeah, went to UNH 4 years and had some good success there too. So it was, great teammates both in high school and college. Jim Belanger was my coach. In fact, I was Jim Belanger's very first recruiting season when he came in, and now I'm back helping him at UNH as soon as this COVID clears again.
That's pretty cool how it can kind of come full circle like that, and just shows how well liked Coach B is and how successful he's been in order to be there as long as he has. So we were talking earlier about while you were at UNH, you were also doing some other competing as well. Tell me about that.
Well, after UNH, so after UNH, I became fish and game officer, and there was a lot at the time. There was a lot of road races, law enforcement road races. So I got into doing that, and I had one guy I was pretty much battling with all the time, Brian Crane from Middlesex County, and he pretty much got the best of me most times. And but we were probably two of the top guys in the nation for law enforcement, which led me into World Police and Fire Games, and I started to do the biathlon, which my real strong point was actually my shooting versus my running. My running was good. I mean, I've run sub 15 for 5K, so my shooting is what carried me above. I was running against guys that could run in the 13s, but if you can't shoot good, you get penalized. If you miss once, it's a minute added on. So biathlon was a very good sport for me.
That's pretty cool. What's just sidetrack on that? What's the coolest place you ever traveled to doing that?
I would say Stockholm, Sweden, or Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona is where I won the gold medal for overall, and but I still think Stockholm was um, a little bit better.
Right. So you talk about how it was through police, and after college you ended up going directly and working with New Hampshire Fish and Game.
Yep, yep, did that, and kept my running up, and competed right till I retired in the law enforcement, games and stuff like that.
Now, of course, you're talking about how you're keeping your running up, but you also were a coach during some of those years as well, or even afterwards. So tell me where you got your coaching start.
Yeah, so my coaching started actually in 1985 in Portsmouth. I was running for UNH, and they needed a distance coach at Portsmouth. So I was like, I asked Jim, and Jim's like, yeah, no problem, you can work it out. And so I trained right with the team. At the time, I had probably one of the best. I had the best half miler in the state, and he won a state championship as a sophomore. Ended up being a 151 half miler at Virginia High School, Lake Braddock. Jay Mentz. The kid was an absolute stud. So I would say I learned a lot of my stuff from Bob Wilson and the guys that took me under their wing, Guy Stearns, Steve Livornier, and it was just like a big melting pot of trying to learn how to coach. Jim Belanger gave me the freedom to do that. It also helped me be a better runner, and put it all together. And I've carried that same coaching advice that I got right up to now on what works and what doesn't work. And most of what works is getting into the head and getting the kid to believe that he can do it. There's nothing more important than that.
Yeah, definitely. Helping to build that confidence up always can help you with those goals. So you coached at Portsmouth, and then you also ended up coaching at Co-Brown a little bit, helping them out. And then what I would consider to be what I know you for in terms of coaching was actually for Deerfield Middle School. So tell me about some of your experiences with Deerfield and some of the trips that you guys went on, because you ended up with a very successful program.
Yeah, so actually, take it back a little bit. So I did help out with Co-Brown. And Tim Cox and Brent Kasich, we all worked really good together. And I took a lot of their ideas. I gave them a lot of ideas. But once I knew my kids were going to be of age, I wanted to go over to Deerfield and start this program. I got to admit, I didn't think it was going to take off as quickly as it did. But I knew I had some of the the best athletes you've ever seen. Like hard-nosed, tough mirror images of the way I was when I was a kid. I knew if I put the hard work in, I would be successful. I just passed that on to them, and it started with my son Calgary, and he was a leader, and he got the kids around him to be just to follow his lead. And it didn't take us too long before we were, standing upon the podium, winning our first state championship. And then once we got to that level, it was very easy to maintain that level, and we maintained it from 2008 to 2018. Won 11 state championships, nine team and 2 individual champions, which then again set you guys up, set Co Brown up, and set Concord up, and even Oyster River up, because all my kids went to different places. But no, it was the greatest ride ever. If I had to pinpoint the best time of my life, that was it, because I had actually kids that were middle schoolers that would do anything to be successful. I would call them up and the night before, and I'd say, "Hey, meet me over the Deerfield Fairgrounds at 5 o'clock in the morning," and every one of my kids would be there. And that just tells you it was a different day and age. And then I could see it towards the end of the career. It was fading a little bit, and I knew it was time for me to move on. But I stuck it out 4 more years after my son Forrest left.
Yeah, overall, pretty remarkable job there, and a lot of accolades from it, especially with those championships. And of course, those middle school championships we wouldn't have if it wasn't for Larry Martin, who's actually going to be
Exactly.
the person who you're doing your first interview with. So we're looking forward to seeing that episode, because I know you guys go back for quite a
Yeah.
bit and have a
I,
pretty good.
I owe a lot to Larry. I really do, and so does the state. There is nobody that's done more for the state than he has, and he's still doing it to this day. And I saw it when I was in high school, how enthusiastic he was, and he still has that same enthusiasm, you know, 50 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I first met him, I was in high school, and it was, my coach Tim Cox told me go shake his hand and say thank you for putting on the indoor meets at the time. And it's amazing what he was able to accomplish back then, and even now with those indoor meets and how efficiently they can be run and how many people go through it. It's incredibly impressive what he's been able to do for the sport. So definitely looking forward to that interview with it. Now, you hung it up at Deerfield, and then once you did, I know you said like last year you had started working coaching a little bit with UNH. This year got
Yep.
shut down a little bit. So tell me, what are you looking forward to about working with some collegiate level athletes?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to just working with some guys that you can look eye to eye with. Tell them you've been to the same places they've been. Tell them if you put the hard work in, and just have you stay focused. Sky's the limit on what you can do, and what want to attain. If they're already running in college, they have the talent. It's a lot different than a middle school where you're convincing them what they can be. A lot of these guys know what they can be and see it. So it's a different level. It's a little different from high school, but it's kind of a fun level. And it's amazing to see it when it all clicks together. And it's amazing to see how some of these guys, they may not have been as good like in middle school, and you're tracking them up through. Next thing you know, there's a kid, Aiden Sullivan at UNH. He was a decent runner in middle school and high school, but now you look at him in college, and he's just blossomed out to be an absolute stud runner. So it's nice when you see that happen.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to kind of see the impact that you can have on the program, and of course the full circle effects working with Coach B as well. So I'm looking forward to that once we can get back to some of these normal seasons. It should be good. Hopefully, you'll be able to continue to commentate with us as much as you can, because you've definitely been a great voice to the sport for New Hampshire, especially at the high school level. and a very knowledgeable one too. You've always brought a lot to the table, and it's more than just saying this person's in first, this person's in second. So I know personally, I've always appreciated having you at those meets, and I feel good when you have mic in your hand or on your head. So I appreciate that. And Jim, thank you again for your time today. It's always great to talk to you and hear a little bit more about your past and what we're used to when you're just commentating for us. So thank you for that.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, once again, this is NewHampshireTrackandField.com. This has been Around the Oval. Feel free to reach out to us. Go ahead and you can share this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, and also hit us with the hashtag Around the Oval NH. And make sure you tag us in those posts. Let us know what you think. And if there's any questions you want Jimmy to answer that we didn't get to, leave them there, and we'll make sure we track them down for those answers. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Next time, I'm going to be interviewing the guy we talked about, Larry Martin, getting a little bit of background about him. And then, really, the cool part is Jimmy and Larry are going to be sitting down for a little bit of story time where they're going to go more in depth into kind of Larry's life with things and get some really cool, unique stories that general population hasn't been able to hear before. So until next time, guys, we'll see you.